Hi, how's it going? This is Justin Wilson. I'm going to be doing a breakdown on a few scenes from The Headless Woman. This is towards the 37-minute mark, where at this point, Vera is still in denial about what has happened on the road with her possibly hitting the boy and the dog as well. But just based on subsequent events that are going to happen in the next few scenes, she kind of comes to a breaking point where she ends up, admitting to her husband that she feels like she almost hit someone or that she did hit someone and that she would prefer to go like look and check and she feels very guilty about it and the guilt's eating her up inside. So we'll start off here.
Y sin los cobertores de las almohadas, que deben ser unos 40 pesos más.
So they're driving to the recreation center. The
Tendríamos
boys
que
are
poner
playing around a little
unos,
too much
unos
and he throws
85
the shoe.
Me tiró la zapatilla.
¿Qué chango de porquería hace?
¿Qué hace? All right, so this part of the scene I thought was interesting. Of course, we have a close up, kind of just like showing everybody's reactions, I guess, in the scene. And so one, I thought Vero's reaction to open the car door and look back pretty intently was a very interesting choice. It kind of shows that she's been kind of like prompted or jolted to that reaction by the remembrance of something, just because this specific situation, like just the shoe being thrown out the car, wouldn't be enough um, for her to do that. She honestly doesn't even have to open her own door in order for this problem to be solved. But instead, she decides to. And then beyond that, just this dialogue right here, look at the canal, it's full. Um, I think that is intentional to be placed here as well. Just the fact that the rain in this story is kind of like another protecting force of Vero, just because the fact that the canal being full is what is allowing her to escape the consequences of this. Because without the canal being full, the body wouldn't have been found, days, weeks later, and then would have been contributed to the floods rather than Vero. And then previous scene when it was raining, and then her friend went out to call his associate and see if he heard anything about a kid getting hit, and he heard nothing. He came in from the rain with that good news as well. So it seems like the rain has kind of been a graceful and protective force around Vero. And so it's interesting that it was pointed out in this way. So Vero decides to get out the car unnecessarily, and then she's the first person to walk back, interestingly enough. Not to get to the shoe, of course, but it seems like she's thinking about something that may have happened here. And that's unsurprising based on the fact that this scene, kind of like a wide angle scene, shows a setup very similar to the setup that we saw when she did hit the dog and the child, in terms of it being next to the canal, a dirt road. There's a car coming down the road, which is a very intentional choice because there did not have to be a car there in the scene. And I can understand why this situation would cause Vero some issues. And so it's interesting here. Vero quickly turns around and goes back to the car when she's looking that direction and sees a boy running down the road, carefree, and then a car coming at him. Of course, this will remind her of her actions previously, and I can completely understand why she would walk back. She would snap away from that and walk back to the car because she does not want to remember. She is still in denial. And so now they've made it to their destination and they're walking. And then I think this is one of the most interesting scenes, or the one of the most direct editing choices, in the fact that the exposure, the brightness of the scene increases, and Vero puts on her sunglasses. I think this shows that that things are coming to a boiling point, just because we know sunglasses are used to block things that we don't want to see, which is brightness. And so the exposure of the scene being increased shows us that this is coming to a climactic point where Vero is going to be shown something that she does not want to see, and that's why she attempted to put the sunglasses on. But Is that gonna work for her? Is that going to be enough to block what she doesn't want to see? Who knows? So yeah, sunglasses on, exposure up. What's about to happen? Why is this going on? Boom, sharp sound. And so right, all things climax, working to get the viewer engaged. Why does the scene look like this? What was that? What was that sharp sound? And then this point after the sharp sound where Vero is looking through the fence and then everyone else is just walking by her like they didn't hear anything. I think this is very reminiscent of just the situation that Vero is in the fact that she's the only one who has to deal with her guilt at this point. No one else is sharing that with her. No one else knows what she's going through. And so they walk by like nothing happens while Vero is just stuck there standing still, um, looking at a boy on the ground, um, not knowing what happened to him, not knowing if he's okay. And of course, this shot is obviously from Vero's point of view. It showed her looking, and then it shows us looking through the fence as Vero was looking down at the boy on the ground, pretty much from Vero's angle. So it obviously shows that Vero is looking at him, and then without a doubt, this reminds her of hitting the boy as well. And then yeah, at this point, it's too much to bear. It's also an interesting editing choice that we didn't see the boy get up or we didn't see any follow-up, on him. He's just laying on the ground. Seems like we never know if he's okay. I guess it's not important to know if he's okay or not, just because we're gonna go on with our lives and focus on ourselves rather than of the impacts of that action. So very again, staying to the theme of guilt, moving on, difference in social classes and how some people can get overlooked very easily and some people are protected. So at this point, Vero gets into the bathroom. She feels like she's alone, where she can be vulnerable. She takes off her sunglasses, the things that she's using to block things that she doesn't want to see. And then at that point, it all just comes rushing back to her. Her protection has been taken off, and she just has to feel her feelings. At this point, it's too much to bear. So again, Vero, she's pretty much breaking down at this point. The denial hasn't worked. She needs to process her feelings. She needs to acknowledge the situation, and then just being in the right slash wrong place at the right time. This worker is here, and he's consoling her. And then right, I think this close up works well to show their emotions and how they're interacting together. And so this scene, I felt like was just following the theme of the story of Vero being protected by kind of like male counterparts or associates type of thing, just from this worker to her brother to her lover to her husband. They all had a step or they all did something in order to help her, overcome the situation, if not emotional support like this, in terms of, destroying or hiding evidence that could have linked her to the crime. Um, all these things are just done by people outside of her. She was really a bystander in this. Um, and yeah, it just kind of goes to show some of like the lack of agency that was kind of symbolized within this and how Vero is being protected by the people around her.
Buenas tardes.
this scene as well, the end of this scene as she walks out, I thought um also spoke to some greater themes. You know, of course, Vero puts back on the sunglasses in terms of, you know, blocking things that she doesn't want to see. She's kind of composed herself. And then, yeah, she walks away. She's, you know, um, I don't know if got what she wanted from the guy is too strong of a language, but you know, she got the emotional support she needed, the help, the water. And when she was done with that, you know, she put back on her hater blockers and she kept it moving. She was like, you know, appreciate it, have a good one. And so I feel like that was also kind of reminiscent of like right how I've been saying the difference in these social classes. You know, the wealthier classes kind of can, you know, get the labor use out of, you know, the people that they want, and then once they're done with that, they can move on and go back to what they were doing. And so, right. And that kind of inconvenienced this guy, and she kind of leaves him, you know, just in there like, hey, good afternoon. We'll see you. See you never. So next scene, pretty abrupt jump cut from a breakdown to, you know, Vero just being pretty like calm in the store. She's very this is from Vero's point of view, as we'll see, you know, she's standing in line at a grocery store, staring very pretty intently at this girl. And I just think this girl is working to symbolize themes such as, you know, innocence and how valuable that is. Which of course Vero is relating back to that young boy that she hits on the road, and what he represented, and so this girl is just working to increase her guilt just as all those other things were in the previous scenes. And so after Vero looks at the girl for a while, comes back to her and her husband. With the close up, Vero's looking pretty detached. He's looking busy. Um, and so just based on all those things, the girl, you know, the boy laying down on the ground or who fell down on the ground, in addition to you know, stopping on the road as well. All those things have worked together in order to build Vero's guilt, and she has to admit it to someone at this point.
Maté a alguien en la ruta.
¿Qué dijiste?
Maté a alguien en la ruta. Me parece que atropellé a alguien.
So yes, I think this is just a very good editing job, especially just things like showing the exposure, just, you know, body language, in terms of, you know, close-ups, perspective, just in terms of showing that these things are coming from Vero's point of view, or these shots are coming from Vero's point of view. I thought these all worked really well to just show steps one, two, three, um, in order to show exactly why Vero is admitting to her husband that she thinks she killed someone at this moment, at this time, what led up to it. And I think it worked very well to show that these things were all building up to make her feel this type of way. So, yeah, well done. Thanks for listening.